Okay, welcome back to Just a Book. In this today's session, we're going to be looking at Zoo by Anthony Browne, another very famous book. It's got many layers. It has many of that beautiful image and text that we like to see in children's books. So I'm going to get started straight away. We have a very typical cover of Anthony Browne style. We have just very simple images, nothing too complicated. Again, we have this nice pattern at the back. Children might think zebra or zebra, I don't know how you say it, but they might say zebra. They also could make links to the bars that you see in zoos. We have the family, obviously a typical family, you would say. You got the mother, father, two children. Interesting here, it's sort of like a precursor to the book. The dad takes up most of the space, and that's what you will find in this book as well. All right, so if we go into it, I'm just going to delete this front cover. You'll see something which lots of children might miss when they first come into books, which is a little a thank you note at the start with thanks to Joseph for his invaluable contribution. So that's a nice little topic just to bring up with kids on dedicating books, dedicating all this work and effort to someone. And then you can have this AB Anthony Browne talking about abbreviations. Here we are with our lovely, again, nice clean sort of front cover again. So we have zoo, there's a little mouse in the cage. Again, it puts into question, what is a zoo? Where can we find zoos? Are schools zoos? Are workplaces zoos? Are zoos just made for animals? So this is a really interesting topic of what is a zoo. I would also recommend this book in alliance with looking at debating as well. I remember doing this with one year in a school where we did are zoos good for animals? Some sort of topic like that. And this is a very nice book to look at on that note. All right, let's zoom in. Nice little joke. All right, so book starts out very simple. We're talking about the start of a story. So who, what, when, where, why. Here we are putting the who and what's happening and where they're going. Excuse me. My family. Me, my brother, dad, mum. Last Sunday we all went to the zoo. Me and my brother were really excited. Like very simple start. Two sentences. Interesting how they didn't continue to put the me on the same line when they very could have easily done that. They very could have easily put the me and my brother were really excited. This is obviously intentional, but you have one statement here and another statement here. Both very important, both have a lot of value. Let's separate them out a bit. Also, it helps the aesthetics. I like the pictures as well. Again, we have that sort of meshed, so I don't know what you call it, but that sort of animal-like slash human-like figurative portraits or figurative style that Anthony Browne is quite famous for. Interesting how the children look a bit more animal-like, and they sort of increasingly look more animal-like as the book goes on. The parents look quite typical, typical humans. Okay, nice little picture here. Lots going in, very cramped, very suffocating, a bit claustrophobic you may feel. There's a lot in there, but let's read first. But there were masses of cars on the road, and it took ages to get there. After a while, Harry and I got really bored, so we had a fight. Harry started crying, and Dad told me off. It's not fair. He never tells Harry off. It's always my fault. What kind of jam do you think we get stuck in? Asked Dad. Don't know, said Harry. A traffic jam, roared Dad. Everyone laughed except Mum and Harry and me. So nice little start there. Let's talk about the sentences to start off with. Nice little conjunction here. So we had a fight. Usually children would put all this together. After a while, Harry and I got really bored, so we had a fight. But we had a full stop there, which makes this sentence a lot more powerful. It stands out. It's got a lot more presence, a lot more expression. Harry started crying and Dad told me off. It's not fair, comma. He never tells Harry off. It's always my fault. Lovely introduction. There's one on the next page as well of italics and emphasizing it's always my fault. Children can, I'll get them on the whiteboards to write this, to write sentences and emphasizing sort of pronouns like this. What kind of jam do you get stuck in? So making a little joke. Again, you speak a new line, very important. Lots of children forget this. A traffic jam, roared Dad. Everyone laughed except Mum and Harry and me. Interesting how we didn't do comma. That's what we've been teaching children. Do a comma in a list. And here we have Mum and Harry and me. Again, I think the author's trying to say here is that every item, every object in this list is important enough to be heard more independently rather than having that comma. So the opposite would be everyone laughed except Mum, Harry, and me. Everyone laughed except Mum and Harry and me. So there's a real emphasis so that each object has its own, is its own, and needs to be considered equally. So then we have this nice little picture. The kids would jump at this picture. They can see all these little things. We have these bananas, so they're going to the zoo, but we have this sort of ape-like ferocious man growling, making animal noises as they're going towards the zoo. Again, there's like no space over here. There's these sort of bars. Got this interesting snail jumping at the side. Don't know what that's about, but it leaves a lot to question. Children love the mystery. Again, we have this common pattern of the picture coming out of the box in some of our images. Here we have the sort of a man over here. They're arguing, obviously. A sort of pig-like face. This pig-like car over here as well, the little tail. And then we have the family. There's the dad again, the biggest. Actually, it's probably equal, but within this family structure, the biggest has the biggest gravity. There's the two boys. One is being a bit silly, and one is sort of upset that they got told off. When we finally got there, Dad had to have a row with the man in the ticket booth. He tried to say that Harry was only 4 and shook it in half price. He's 5.5, actually. Daylight robbery, Dad snarled. Sometimes he can be really embarrassing. Again, we have that lovely italic, emphasizing Dad had to have a row. Why is this word emphasized? This is what I would ask children right here. Dad had to have a row. This suggests that it's happened before. It's happened in the past before. Dad had to have a row. Of course he had to. He's always done it. What does this word mean? Lots of children wouldn't understand that. They might attribute it to sport, but you can ask them to get the dictionary out. But this is a word that you can understand through its context. Dad had to have a row with the man in the ticket booth. Let's look at the picture for evidence. Okay, you can see that there's big, bold, italic writing. This is an angry. It's anger. It's a fight. So a row must mean a bit of a fight. Nice little introduction here of parentheses or brackets. He's 5.5 actually. Notice how there's a full stop. That's quite good. Daylight robbery. Nice little phrase here. Dad snarled. Dad roared over here. So this nice little animals snarl, cheetahs snarl, bears roar. So that lovely, those said words are suggesting animal-like tendencies for the person who's saying them. So really, really well done. Okay, it costs how much? So he's obviously roaring. There we have that lovely little blush on the boy's cheek. You can tell he's really embarrassed. That's another show not tell. So how do you know he's embarrassed? His cheeks burnt amber. His cheeks burnt rose red. I don't like to. I sort of ban words like red, orange, blue. I have in my class. I have had hundreds of shades of that one color. So grape-colored green, that kind of thing. The ticket booth, we have like a wolf or a giant bear, and the dad is, being very angry at that gesture of how much it costs. Sort of people are kind of animal-like. We have our horns, We have a nice little crocodile foot over here. A nice little beak. So very, very nice, very interesting. Lots of imagery here that kids can talk about, and things that I couldn't even find, to be honest. Okay. We hadn't got a map of the zoo, so we just wandered around. Me and my brother wanted to see the gorillas and monkeys, but we had to see all these boring animals first. We went into the elephant house, which was really smelly. The elephant just stood in a corner, stuffing its face. Okay, very nice. The contraction. Me and my brother wanted to see the gorillas and monkeys, but we had to see all these boring animals. Nice noun phrase. We went into the elephant house, which was really smelly. This is, if I zoom out, a common thread with the child's voice. Really funny. Where is it? Really bored. I'm sure there was another one. Oh, I've gone back. What am I doing? Oh, that's right. Really, I think it's really bored. I think there's one more. I'm sure it'll come out. Really embarrassing. That's right. So that's sort of giving this child voice. You know, lots of children sort of repeat the same vocabulary. That's really boring. That's really unfair. So it's sticking true to a character voice over here. The elephant just stood in a corner, stuffing its face. This nice verb, this will come again later on, stuffing its face. You see the family stuffing this face. He's attributing this verb to the actual animal itself. Come down, you little rat bag. Oh, Harry, do be careful. Again, this nice little feature that Anthony Browne does, which he puts the sort of the character with the most orbit, with the most gravity, I should say, at the front of the picture. We saw this in Voices in the Park with the mother. She's walking in front of the sun, and she had the most importance, or the most presence. Here we have the child starting to really exhibit signs of being animal-like, climbing things just like a monkey would, and interestingly, they wanted to see the monkey and gorillas. Let's zoom in. What can we find in this lovely illustration? People with little tails. We have a leopard skin tights, or is it actual skin? We don't know. Then we have a little bear on the back. This is, you might do like how many animals can you see, or finish the drawings, or adjust the drawings here. Little antennas on this person, fur, skin, dog head, leopard jumper. And in the background we can see a cage, although it's empty. Then they go to this elephant's cage, and what do they see? It's important to note that this is a child's perspective. It's sort of going up. You can sort of see it going up or straight on, so you can't actually see the eyes. This is very strategic. Not showing the eyes gives a sense of that mystery, and also people sort of hide their eyes in moments of sadness. You wouldn't do it if you were happy or joyful. It's moments of aloneness and solitude where it's sort of covered. So we see this elephant. It's in the corner. It's dark. It's facing away. The railing is covering its facial features. The only place which we can really grab empathy is to look at the face of a creature. We can see the upwards view of the child being able to capture the skyline as well. Some food on the ground. You can tell straight away that the picture is dark and not very welcoming. Another motif here is that another interesting thing that happens here is that the elephant blends in to the colorscape. This sort of color palette here is the same as the color palette over here. It's very kind of bland. In other pictures which we'll see, it's almost even hard to see the animal, which is something to say about how the animal themselves must feel. Mum had brought some chocolate, and Harry and I were starving. "Can we have it now?" I asked. "No, not yet," said Dad. "Why not?" whined Harry. "Because," said Dad. "Because what?" I asked. "Because I say so," said Dad. It seemed he was in one of his moods. Okay, very nice. We have, again, the new speaker, new line. Really good to point out to children. Again, there's no one speaking yet, so we can start speech on this line. So that's the difference here. We have the repetition of said, said, said. Okay, that can suggest monotony. Okay, that's what he said. Then he said this. Then he said this. So the author here doesn't want to make a very interesting character at this point. It's just like, oh, you're hearing the same thing from your dad. If it was, no, not yet, snarled dad. Why not, whined Harry? Because scrawled father. You know, if he had that, then the character, the interest of the character would elevate beyond just saying something. So that's a very nice, intentional technique used here. It seemed he was in one of his moods. What does this mean? I would ask children. Well, it suggests repetition, that this is something which is common to the dad. This is not new. Then we have the towering father, the tyrannical posture, the stature. Again, that lovely formation of environment, sort of personifying who this person is. He's like the devil, he's like a demon, and nature even suggests that. It bends itself towards that personality type. Then we have, let's zoom out, the giraffe pen. Okay, as I said before, in the previous picture, the elephant was sort of blended back. Well, you notice that here. You can see how the giraffes are almost hidden from sight. Why? Well, it suggests that the giraffes probably feel hidden. They probably feel unseen. Their feelings aren't taken seriously. What they aren't taken seriously. They don't really want to be there. One is looking in, you can't see its face. It prefers darkness. It's what it's used to. It just wants to hide. Well, what do you do when you feel sad? Well, I just want to go under my covers and never be seen again. That's what I do when I feel upset. We have nice little geometry over here, a little right-angled semicircle thing, which is quite cute. And then again, the giraffe's face is turned the other way. Its eyes look closed or at least sad. In the background, we have power lines or broken fence. We don't know, but this sort of adds to that industrial kept place. Okay. Then we saw the tigers. One of them was just walking along a wall of the cage, then turning round and walking all the way back. Then it would start again. Poor thing, said Mum. You wouldn't say that if it was chasing after you, snorted Dad. Look at those nasty teeth. Okay, very nice. What does this was just walking along the wall of the cage and then turning around and walking all the way back. Then it would start again. What does this tell you about the character, about the emotional state of the beast? Well, it tells you that they're bored, they're depressed. It's doing the same thing over and over again. That's something which you can ask children. It's not just saying the tiger was bored, it was showing you the tiger was bored. That's what makes successful writing, successful ideas, is that you can bring out that detail to make something come alive more, rather than just giving it to the reader. The tiger was upset. Well, how do you know the tiger was upset? Show me. Well, his teeth were shown. His foam was coming out of his mouth. His ears were stuck up. That kind of thing. Mum has some sympathy here. Poor thing, said Mum. And then Dad, of course, snorts. Then we have the chocolate bar gone to waste, not really used. The two boys climbing over the fence. Here, puss, come here, pussy. So the dad is not really even acknowledging or caring for the tiger. The tiger is for the dad's entertainment solely. And the boys are sort of learning this as well. You think where the boys get their attitude from. Here we have the tiger. So if you just zoom out a tiny bit, you can see the full cage. Again, it has that sort of claustrophobic feel. The tiger is really tight. It suggests that this is all the tiger has, and this is what probably the tiger feels it only has, this small space. Nice little illustration there. Harry and I were getting really hungry. Can't we have lunch now? I asked. But we've only just got here, said Mum. It seemed like we'd been here for hours. My brother thumped me, so I kicked him, and we wrestled for a bit. Then Dad told me off. Okay, good. So, you speak in your line. It seemed that we'd been here for hours. My brother thumped me, so I kicked him, and we wrestled for a bit. It's nice. It's leading into this wrestling. Thumped, then kicked, and then we wrestled. So that's a nice little way of extending sentences in writing. When they meet the villain, the villain lifted his wrist. I scratched him. Then the villain shot an arrow at me. So it helps to build the scene of tension by just these little tiny incidents leading to the bigger incident. You get a nice little contraction. Then we have this. This is very smart. I like this. We have this sort of slang. Get off, get off, get off. We can tell the sort of class of these boys when they're sort of using this sort of street language. Get off instead of get off. Or it's just simply implying age. We don't know. You get off for me. So they're sort of sounding like animals themselves doing all these noises. In the background, we have them in a cage, what it seems like a cage. This is a really good question of who's actually in the zoo, or what are zoos actually for, or are humans animals, that kind of thing. We have the tyranny of the father's shadow coming in from the corner. This is sort of the influence, the shadow side of these boys come from the father's way, the father's style. Okay, we have a nice big picture, lots of lines, structure, order. We have the rhino, which is again blending into its environment. It doesn't feel seen, it doesn't want to be seen. It's leaving the area. Even this rock seems a bit more interesting. It's got beautiful detail. I don't know if anyone's noticed that before. But yeah, these tall buildings. It's a prison. Is this a prison or is it a zoo? This is a question you can ask children. What makes a good zoo? What would a good zoo look like? And why is this not a good zoo? We have these prehistoric rocks, as I said before. This one looks sort of like a dinosaur, which is quite nice. But yes, we have the rhino feeling sad, feeling oppressed, and leaving. And I guess this watchful camera always looking. Lovely picture here. We looked at the penguins next. I usually find penguins funny when I see them on the telly, but all I could think of was food. What animal could you eat at a zoo? Asked Dad. Don't know, I groaned. A hot dog, howled Dad. He was holding his stomach and laughing so much that tears were rolling down his face. Come on, boys, said Mum. Let's get something to eat. So very nice picture here. You can see he didn't just say his dad was laughing. His stomach, he was holding his stomach and tears were running down his face. There's that show not tell which we love to see in children's writing. And very true to his character, he likes to make jokes that people don't particularly like or want to hear. Kind of sounds like me, actually. Come on, boys, said Mum. Let's get something to eat. Yeah, I really like this sentence. It's a lovely show not tell sentence. I like to get students at the front of the class and to give them an emotion and say fear. And then they show me a face of fear. And I tell children, how do you know that they're scared? And then children would try and describe what they see rather than just saying what they're scared. You could even ban that word, scared. Ban the synonyms. Okay, the color scheme of the penguins are the same as the background. The penguins blend in. There's a bit of blue here, but even that's very grayed out. You can see the clear lines, like the penguins have those nice lines. The clear lines. Why are these ladders even here? Why do we need them? It's such a lovely extension of the color palette that we can see in the penguin. Black and white, black and white, black, white, gray, black and white, black and white. Penguins are sort of hiding away. They don't want to be seen. They're facing away. One's even looking down, contemplating even a jump if we go that dark. Then we have this really interesting silhouette. That can be the boy, it cannot be, but this could be you know, in a very much more deeper way of looking at things, the internal state of the boy at this stage, you know, thrown into the darkness, thrown into the shadows. But who is that boy? That's a nice little question. Yeah, nice little question there. If the previous pictures were of the boy looking in, why would we think that that's the boy now? Why has Anthony Browne put the boy in that picture? The cafe was great. I had burger and chips and beans and loads of tomato ketchup and a chocolate ice cream with raspberry sauce. It was brilliant. After that, we went into the gift shop to spend our pocket money. We each bought a funny monkey hat. Which one is the monkey? Jeered you-know-who. Then we had to go and see the polar bear. It looked really stupid, just walking up and down, up and down. So good. Lovely. Lots of previous techniques put into here, but very clarified here and cemented. Cafe was great. I like actually always having a conversation about this word cafe. What's this little accent? Kids wouldn't really come across that unless they're multilingual. But cafe. And then I would go and Google and search the word, and so you can see the origins of the word. It's very interesting. Kids love that. The cafe was great. I had a burger and chips. We have this and. We always tell kids, as I said before, to use commas in a list. But this means how excited there's two things here. One is how excited the child was. We had burger and chips and beans and loads of tomato ketchup. This is many children do this. They say, "Oh, I had this, and it was this, and it was this." So again, it puts importance and the seriousness of the character that they find each item. And it's not just I had burger, chips, beans, tomato ketchup. It's not a quick list. It's a list that you need to listen to. Also, that the first thing is it's a list that you need to listen to. The second thing is that it's the character, the childlike voice. Oh, I had this and this and this. So those are two things that come out into this. We have our short sentence for impact. It was brilliant. I love that. Very nice. After that, we went into the gift shop to spend our pocket money. We each bought funny. This nice little part here, jeered. That's a word that students won't know. You know who. Okay, lovely hyphens as well. Really good way of giving a different pronoun to pronoun or proper noun. Oh, I've got a mind blank. Pronoun, yeah, to the character. Then we all got to see the polar bear. It looked really stupid. Again, that really sounds, that's the character, the child's voice coming through. And then this word, I say silly in class. Children sort of go, ooh. So I just sort of say silly. How I get around these words of sort of inappropriate language is I say, well, it's safe in the book. You know, authors are allowed to write that because it gives more character to the person, gives more personality. But it's safe in the book because it stays in the book. We don't bring it outside. That's what I tell, you know, definitely the younger ones if I read this book to them. Looking at the picture, we see that they're becoming a bit more animal-like, and the hats complement that. They bought monkey hats. They themselves are sort of looking monkey-ish. They have marks all over them. They look a bit cheeky, so it's kind of that transition from well-behaved, civilized to the animal is becoming a bit more prominent. Here we have the polar bear. You know, it looks really stupid. It walks up and down, just like that tiger did. The polar bear is blending into its scene. It's actually looking at the people, but we can see how its eyes are sad. They're turned down. Got this dark cave. That's meant to be its home where it sleeps. This dark cave. It's all blended into one. It's boring. It's sad. It's depressing. Even the water doesn't look particularly healthy. Next we saw the baboons, and they were a bit more interesting. Two of them had a fight. They remind me of someone, said Mum. I can't think who. I can't think who. Try and get some personality into those quotation marks. I'm usually very good at it. They remind me of someone, said Mum. I can't think who. Very, you know, that's something a parent would say. What does that remind me of? Teachers would say that as well. So we have the baboons on this side, screaming, laughing, playing, pulling hair, shouting, sort of disinterested. And then we have the two boys in the background, one with the hat still on, pulling, shouting, pulling shirts. Sort of lovely little contrast between that. Very nice contrast. Again, the cage is on this side, and there's no cage here. So we usually think of animals in cages. So this is another more evidence to suggest that maybe humans belong in a zoo, or we are animal-like. We have these stains which children always point out, the kind of messy, unkept stains. And we have this baboon at the top walking out. We've got a little slither of green, a green leaf over here. It's interesting. The orangutan crouched in a corner and didn't move. We tried shouting at it and banging on the glass, but it just ignored us. Miserable thing. So we had that nice short sentence, a good noun phrase there, miserable thing. Not saying miserable orangutan, miserable beast, miserable monkey. We use that lovely sort of non-specific abstract noun of thing. Shouting at it, banging on the glass. What does that suggest? Well, they're impatient. They want action. Didn't just say, we were impatient, so we banged on the glass. Well, we were shouting. Okay, looking at that picture so much. Kids love this. We can go through all the characters, but you can just see a whole bunch of merging between the animal and the human, all coming into scene. The boys they look silly because we can't actually see the glass. The mum's just sort of looking to the side. This strange character in the background, with the banana tie. We got the sort of two eyes here, another two eyes there. The leopard skin, the man, the eye on the camera. Got the mane, the little baby brother. Got this little strange character here. I don't even know where to start. We have this sort of cat lady, sort of dog over here. It's, these are animals. Are they in the zoo? And then we have this really depressing, well, it's a fantastic painting. I think this is a really good illustration. Let's see the whole picture first. Yeah, so we've got this really depressing photo of the orangutan looking away. Its hair is knotted. It's in darkness. There's a little bit of a hole here. It's sort of suggesting a breathing hole. We know it's outdoors, but it's like this is the only thing of in and out. We have this sort of stain at the top. It's a very sad scene, which I think is emblematic of the whole story of the animal's interior world coming into life. Finally, we found the gorillas. They were quite good. Of course, Dad had to do his King Kong impersonation, but luckily we were the only ones there. Then it was time to go home. In the car, Mum asked us what was the best bit of the day. I said the burger and chips and beans, and Harry said the monkey hats. Dad said the best bit was going home, and asked her what was for dinner. I didn't think the zoo really is for animals. I don't think the zoo is really for animals, said Mum. I think it's for people. So we get a nice little part down here, which sort of suggests that we're seeing a large part of the story is seeing it through the mum's lens. The children are the ones who are acting like children, and so is the dad. And that's what comes through the writing and the pictures. So this is nice and suggestive to say that the opinions of the mum is what we actually sort of see throughout the story, where we think it's coming from one of the boys saying I. Again, we have the of course Dad had to do his King Kong impersonation, suggests the character, clarifies the character. The burger and chips and beans. We have that voice coming through here. Harry said the monkey hats. So there's a non-interest. We've all been through this. You go to a nice place and people just say, oh yeah, it was okay, I like the food and all that kind of thing. But they sort of miss the point of the actual whole zoo. Here we have the dad going, ooh, 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 like the monkey, like the gorilla. Hey, look at that one. We have a real close-up of the gorilla right here. Very big close-up. Interesting picture this. It's cut into 4 simple pieces. Yep, it could be the bars, it could be the cage. A very high detailed, which is always, you can always see a nice high detailed picture in Anthony Browne's books. The gorilla looking at them, Could the gorilla even himself be thinking, I think the zoo is for people? You know, it seems here that the gorilla is much more intelligent. We have the people behaving as animals, and then we have the gorilla behaving civilized, watching, observing, contemplating. It's a nice little contrast between discussing again the intelligence of animals. That night I had a very strange dream. Do you think animals have dreams? Okay, very nice. Yeah, good P4C question. The shadows are bars, so it's locked in a cage. The boy feels within the cage. Um, does he think he is an animal? Are we animals? These are questions that children don't know how to answer or to think about. We have trees in cages, we have all these barricades, and we have the freedom of our animals. This is sort of people structuring the world. They are sort of carving the world and putting order into the world versus the freedom of an animal, which doesn't. It complements the world. It's being within the world, where we have to sort of destroy and recreate. So there's a nice little commentary there. Okay, that's all for this book. I hope you enjoyed. Really good book. Let's go to the start. Very nice book. I really recommend it. There's a lot you can talk about and a lot that I would definitely recommend. Till next time.